Okay, I know that your time is valuable, so I'm not going to waste it. Let's dive right into this draft. Also, I am really looking forward to getting this going. Let's fire this up, and right away, we're just going to go ahead and take Josh Allen at the 101. Now, yes, I know everybody's upset. I gave myself the 101. What can I say? I want to pretend that I'm smart. I want to have a good team at the end of this, and to be fair to everyone, we did decide to go through and make this a third round reversal as well. So yes, we are not going to get the 301. We are going to get the 312. In those live streams we do every single day where I answer all your questions every single day. For the people that are subscribed, for the people that do have that bell hit next to the subscribe button, I've had a lot of questions as of late going, okay, Mason, do you prefer a third round reversal, or do you think you should just run it through in a regular fashion? And honestly, I don't think a third round reversal makes that big of a difference. Of course, the top three teams that have access to a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, a Justin Herbert, they are definitely at an advantage in terms of just having access to a player with a higher floor and ceiling combination than anybody else in the draft. Now, at the same time, what we have to point out is you are all of a sudden getting the 401. Like, it's not like you are running it back through the third and then you're having to also wait until the 412 to pick. So in reality, I don't think it makes that big of a difference to do the third round reversal or not. We are going to do it here just so some people can see what it looks like and we can have some fun and be fair, because we did give ourselves the 101. But after we take Allen, we have Watson going at the 201. Okay, there's been a lot happening in the NFL. There have been a decent amount of changes since the last time we did one of these startup drafts. And I wanted to see where Deshaun Watson went, because y'all know the second Deshaun Watson was traded, I was aggressive where we put Deshaun Watson in our rankings. I looked at the investment the Cleveland Browns gave Deshaun Watson in terms of trading 3 first-round picks to get him, and on top of that, giving him the most guaranteed money in NFL history. And I said, you know what? I'm an idiot. I understand that I'm an idiot. So I am going to just let the NFL determine what I should be thinking with the Deshaun Watson situation and how much time he's going to miss. And with a bidding war occurring for Watson and then him going for that price point, I sat here and I said, okay, well, I guess it looks like we can assume that Watson is not seeing a very large suspension. Maybe we were wrong in that assumption. We still need to figure it out with Watson. It looks worse today than it did a while ago. And real quick, because we got into this right away, I've not had a chance to ask for you to go down there, drop a like on this live stream, subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football and you want to see us crush some more of these drafts. And Stafford goes at the 209. So there are a couple players that I think are going to be in play here. We're not going to get to take 2 guys in a row. We're not going to get the luxury of the 212 and the 312. Russell Wilson was the name that I was really wanting to make it back to us here at the end of the second round. Now that we have Wilson off the board and CMC goes as well, I think that I don't want to say I have an easy selection. There's one other name that I could be talked into in this range, but possibly, just possibly, we get him coming back around to us at the 312. So I'm going to go Breece Hall. With Breece Hall, I think we accomplished a couple different things. I've talked about this before, but early on in Dynasty startups, I'm wanting to make sure that we stay flexible. I'm wanting to make sure that, hell, I have the chance, I have the option to turn this into either a win now team or a team for the future. So I don't want to just be taking pieces that we know, hell, they're not going to give us any production throughout the season, or someone like Christian McCaffrey. When you take him at the 211, you lock yourself into saying, okay, well, with CMC, clearly this is a win now team. I need to do everything that I can to put up points in 2022, or that Christian McCaffrey selection was wasted. With Breece Hall, I think it's a nice balance of production now as well as that long-term upside at the same time. I stand by the fact that I think he is a top 5 dynasty running back. If you look at his prospect profile and the volume that he should have in New York, yes, I'm not a believer of Zach Wilson. I'll be the first person to admit that. T. Higgins goes at the 304. Higgins was the other player I was actually trying to talk myself into. Now, if you looked at T. Higgins' ADP, T. Higgins was way down this draft board where there was the outside chance that we had T. Higgins making it back to us at the 312. If you're playing in maybe a regular Dynasty Fantasy Football League, You could hope that you get Higgins there, but no, in a flock dynasty mock draft, these people are too smart to let T. Higgins fall to the end of the third. So, of course, Higgins is going to be going here. If anything, I think this is probably too late for T. Higgins. Austin Eckler finally off the board here at the 305. I mean, he has been the highest ranked player according to ADP for quite a while. And I will admit, I still think it maybe is a little bit too early for Eckler, a running back that had 20 rushing touchdowns last year. I do think we see some regression. Deebo Samuel finally off the board. Deebo Samuel, a 26-year-old wide receiver that was a top 3 wide receiver on a points per game basis last season. Getting him at the 307 is fantastic. We have someone in the chat, I believe, let me see. Greg asking if we were going to go for the Stephon Diggs stack. Sadly, we can't go for the Diggs stack. He does go at the 306. I think Stephon Diggs would have been an intriguing selection here at the end of the third round, the beginning of the fourth. And we are stuck in no man's land. Stuck in no man's land indeed. Okay, there's at least one name that I'm wanting here. At least one name, and then the other player, I think we may be throwing our hands in the air. Tyreek Hill goes to the 310. We're beginning to see these veterans get pushed up draft boards. I think we have that redraft mentality, like we've been uploading on our redraft channel. I've gotten in over like 200 real money fantasy football drafts just for 2022 this offseason. We'll be getting into about 400 by the offseason, by the time the offseason's over. So I think that redraft mentality is sneaking in. Let's go ahead. Let's take Davante Adams at the 312, and let's follow it up with Saquon Barkley at the 401. Adams is the exact opposite of what we were discussing earlier in saying we want players that we can almost take the draft one way or another. We want someone that we can say, okay, yeah, we are going to be a rebuilding roster if things break right, and that's the value we want to go down, or we can just contend right away. That's what we accomplish when we take Allen in the first, when we take Breece Hall in the second. We stay neutral. So if we have a Davante Adams falling to us at the very end of the third round here, I think it's good enough value where we can take him and we can go, okay, yeah, we probably just need to push the chips in the middle, try to win now. I would love to know your opinion on that Davante Adams selection. I would have been a lot more excited about a Deebo Samuel, a Stephon Diggs, a Drake London falling there. And real quick, y'all probably have seen us doing drafts every single day on this live stream. If you want to get into our next draft, we're doing them every single day. I just talked about getting in over 200 of them over there on Underdog Fantasy. Go to the link in the description. Go to the link in the live chat. That's where you'll be able to hop into our next 2022 fantasy football draft. A ton of fun. If they weren't this much fun, I wouldn't be addicted to them and doing them nonstop. And when you go and sign up for Underdog Fantasy and you use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You'll get my Dynasty rankings, my Dynasty rookie rankings, and my Dynasty rookie draft guide. So definitely take advantage of that. But you have Travis Etienne at the 405. I think most people in this live stream, most people watching this video would say that Travis Etienne's the best value here. I think Batmac makes a great selection, not only in the value of Travis Etienne, but also bringing in that stack with Trevor Lawrence. With Travis Etienne, this is a running back that I was all in on last year. Remember, I have to admit, I was telling people to draft Travis Etienne over Kyle Pitts, and I was adamant with it as well. I was looking at Travis Etienne as a running back that is going to be the next DeAndre Swift, going to be the next Aaron Jones, going to be the next Alvin Kamara. We've been talking about this with Travis Etienne since he declared for the NFL draft, decided to come out of Clemson because we looked at his size, his athleticism, his receiving game ability, and most importantly, that team investment that he had from the Jacksonville Jaguars. We were looking at him as a can't miss running back prospect. But I will say now at this point, I am not the highest person in the world on Travis Etienne, because when I was drafting Travis Etienne in redraft, when I was drafting Travis Etienne in Dynasty, his price point was lower than this, significantly lower than this. And back then, we thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be a good quarterback. Back then, remember, people thought Lawrence could go out there and be a top 5 to 10 passer in the NFL. At this point, I think it's unlikely to be the case that Lawrence is really ever a top 5 to 10 passer from an NFL standpoint, even if we want to blame a ton of his failure, which I think you can do. I think you can blame a ton on the incompetence of Urban Meyer. Still, it's very hard to go out there and say Lawrence has the same upside that people thought he did coming into the NFL. So if we think Travis Etienne is in a worse offensive environment overall, why am I now having to pay a significantly higher price tag on Travis Etienne at the 405? Great value. Great value. Don't get me wrong. Okay. I am just trying to battle back with the people that are now saying Travis Etienne needs to be going in the second, that Travis Etienne needs to be up there with Breece Hall, Javonte Williams. Trust me, nobody liked Etienne more than I did last year, but we liked him at a much cheaper price, okay? And I was an idiot. I told you to draft him over Kyle Pitts. I'm trying to be fair with my assessment here. I think people are just hopping on this hype train, running it up, because they missed out on DeAndre Swift last year, and you don't want to miss out on that elite pass-catching running back. But Jerry Jeudy goes to the 506. Jerry Jeudy, a player that I would have been interested at the very end of the 5th round. There are a few names that I still like here at the 5-6 turn. Antonio Gibson goes. I honestly don't think I would have cared for Gibson. Treylon Burks at the 508. Let's scroll down to make sure that we're not missing anybody. One thing that I am annoyed with Sleeper is, how have you not fixed this ADP? Like on Underdog, that ADP is so damn good. Whereas this Sleeper ADP, like you're almost better off just using Keep Trade Cut. Like the player that I think most people would take here is just so far down this draft board that I think we could potentially get him at the 7-8 turn, where I feel like we don't need to take him. Hawkinson goes. Oh, I really wanted me some TJ Hawkinson. Now, what I will say is whenever we take Devontae Adams at the 312, I think we are inclined to go out of our way and potentially just reach on someone like Darren Waller, because we are getting the elite level tight end. Of course, every league we do is tight end premium format. And on top of this, you're getting that correlation with this Las Vegas Raiders passing offense. So we could set ourselves up. I guess actually Derek Carr's already off. I was going to say we could set ourselves up to take Derek Carr at the 601. But still, I don't mind bringing in that correlation. You know what? Let's try to stay neutral. If we take Waller, we are so pot committed into being just that win now team that let's go 2 wide receivers here. We're going to take the combination of Terry McLaurin as well as Garrett Wilson. Now, there are 1 to 2 wide receivers I actually like more than McLaurin and more than Garrett Wilson. But based on how this ADP list is so screwed up, I think I can be greedy. I think I can be so greedy that we can take these 2 guys here and almost have one of those other wide receivers that I like making it back to us. And I think McLaurin and Garrett Wilson fit that mold of allowing us to be flexible in our Dynasty League. We want to be flexible at this time to be able to make that strong pivot. What I think too many people make the mistake of, and trust me, I used to make the same mistake, is you get antsy. You're sitting there, you're on Sleeper, you're looking at your phone, you're going, okay, this team really needs a running back too. I would be a contender if I had a running back too here. Let's go through and let's trade away Garrett Wilson. Let's trade away Garrett Wilson and let's go get someone like Aaron Jones. Let's do that. No, what we need to be doing at this point of the offseason still is you need to be trying to just hunt value and keep a flexible build. That's why I love acquiring future draft picks, because you can almost do whatever you want with them. And wait until we are into the second month of the season. Wait until we are past week 3, week 4, week 5, where then you can go across all your Dynasty leagues and you go, okay, this team currently is 3-1. We are second in the league in points scored. You know what? This team could be a true contender. Let's take that extra first-round pick that we accumulated, and now let's go trade that first-round pick and Garrett Wilson, and let's try to bring in someone like, for example, let's try to bring in Cooper Kupp from a team that thought they were going to be contending and is now rebuilding, and vice versa. If you go through into a season and you stay flexible like the team that we have and you go, crap, I thought I was going to be great. Saquon Barkley tore his ACL week 1. Now we are looking at a roster that's 1-3. We are last in the league in points scored, and it's going to be hard for us to overcome this without Saquon Barkley. Good thing we acquired those future first. Good thing we stayed flexible. And now we can go and trade Devontae Adams for someone else and get an upgrade in that fashion. So we're going to continue our path here. McLaurin, Garrett Wilson. After this, you have, I want to say, standard picks off the board. There really haven't been too many surprises so far. I think some people may make the argument you want Devontae Smith, you want Elijah Moore over Garrett Wilson. And like I said, I am not a fan of Zach Wilson. And this is looking like a New York Jets team. I mean, we had to move Garrett Wilson down our rankings behind Treylon Burks because, and really only because, we looked at Zach Wilson and his historical probabilities of becoming a decent quarterback and supporting multiple top 24 wide receivers. It's not good. It's not good, to say the least. But I think the overall Dynasty community has reacted as well, in that you do consistently see Garrett Wilson now go later than he did previously. Okay, so Amari Cooper at the 704, Dalton Schultz at the 705. And don't call me a hypocrite. Don't call me a fraud if we take Zach Wilson here at the 7-8 turn, because A, it would be fine value, and B, we've already made that bet into the New York Jets offense. So might as well go down, might as well double down on that bet. Like I said, in every fantasy football league, I am trying to hit a home run or I am trying to strike out. The last thing you want to do is hit a single. The last thing you want to do is get 5th place, 6th place, 7th place, where you're not winning money, but you're not getting a good rookie pick. No, we're not trying to raise our floor. We're trying to raise our ceiling. And if we've already bet on that New York Jets offense, might as well just double down on it. But hopefully we don't have to. Hopefully people decide to pass. We have Christian Watson here going at the 707 ahead of Jameson Williams, ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Sky Moore goes at the 708. So a couple of these rookies off the board. I really like what we are getting falling to us. Ooh, this is going to be a beautiful turn. Okay, scroll this down. There were a couple of those wide receivers that I was previously mentioning that I think I'm going to be fine taking here if they are still available when we're on the clock. Yeah, there are two names. There are two receivers that I like. I already mentioned being fine taking Zach Wilson. Okay, Darnell Mooney is one of those players. I think with Darnell Mooney, I mean, this is a fantastic value at the 710. James Conner off the board. So we're going to fire up Zach Wilson here as our quarterback too. I guess we're going all in the AFC East. I don't want to go all in on this New York Jets offense, but this Zach Wilson value compared to where Lawrence went in this draft, I think is fantastic. And then if we're going through and looking at another wide receiver, spam the chat. Who do you want? Do you want me to take Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Mike Williams? I think wide receivers here, I'll also throw Courtland Sutton on the board because I know Sutton will be at least in consideration for a lot of other people. I'll give y'all this one. Let me know which wide receiver you want here. I think wide receiver is definitely going to be the value. Just spam the chat. Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Williams, or Courtland Sutton. Okay, so we have 1 vote, St. Brown. 2 votes, Mike Williams. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Courtland Sutton, Jameson Williams. Okay, you know what? We'll go ahead. I'll take Jameson Williams. The votes for Courtland Sutton. I apologize. I did it out of the kindness of my heart. I really did not care how many people voted Courtland Sutton. You could have had 1 million Courtland Sutton votes come in, and I still was not going to take him. I think if you're looking at what Amon-Ra St. Brown was able to do his rookie season, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown could actually be the better fantasy football option in Detroit over Jameson Williams, or Jameson Williams is a better real-life option given the speed that he will bring to the Detroit Lions and affect defensive coordinators and how they have to game plan for this overall offense. I think he'll be able to create separation, create space underneath for Amon-Ra St. Brown, for someone. Oh my gosh, Gabriel Davis, great selection, Gabriel Davis there. I think Gabriel Davis was also in play. I think the wide receiver value here was ridiculous. Great wide receiver value. Like if we're looking at some of these wide receivers, like there's not a big gap between us taking Garrett Wilson at the 601 and a couple of the other wide receivers in this range. Now, I'm still very comfortable with our team. Let me know what y'all think of our team, but I think that we have a pretty strong one here. At quarterback, we have Josh Allen, Zach Wilson. At running back, Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley. At wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, and Jameson Williams. Hunter says, you doing Sutton so dirty. Going to be crazy when he goes for 1,207. My man, I'll say if Courtland Sutton goes for 1,200 receiving yards and 7 receiving touchdowns, I hate to break it to you, but when he's going in the 3rd round of redraft leagues, he's just returning value on his ADP, okay? That's not Courtland Sutton being a league winner. If Courtland Sutton has 1,200 receiving yards and 7 receiving touchdowns, and you drafted him in the 3rd round of redraft formats, which that's where he's going on underdog right now. You're not winning your league from it. You're not losing your league, but you're not winning. That's almost what you need from Courtland Sutton. That's almost the median projection from him at this point, if you're looking at the opportunity cost compared to some of the other players in that range. Kenny coming out. Thank you, my man. Says, a redraft PPR, you're going to go Travis Kelce or Stephon Diggs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, no tight end premium. Okay, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Wide receivers don't freaking matter. Go get Travis Kelce, adjust to that format, and wide receivers are most valuable when you just go through and you add a crap ton of flex spots. Now I'll say, Courtland Sutton going at the 8-10 here, fine value for Courtland Sutton. Y'all know I am a massive Sutton hater. I am on board saying Jerry Jeudy's the wide receiver 1 in Denver. I am on board saying that Courtland Sutton is not going to be that much of a standout compared to Tim Patrick, where you have Courtland Sutton being drafted in round 3, Tim Patrick going in the double-digit rounds in redraft, okay? But in dynasty startups, taking Sutton at the 8-10, this is coming from a Courtland Sutton hater, okay? I already said if Courtland Sutton is a top 5 wide receiver on a points per game basis this upcoming season, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and he's being drafted in the 3rd round, okay? It should be in his range of outcomes. Don't tell me I'm raising the bar too much. If you want a league-winning wide receiver from the 3rd round, he needs to be a top 10 option, and he probably needs to be a top 5. But if that happens, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go online. I'm going to order a Courtland Sutton jersey. I'm going to live stream in that Courtland Sutton jersey and shave my head during the live stream. That I am that confident that Sutton will not return value in redraft. But in Dynasty, if you're getting him here at the 8-10, completely fine, okay? And Stig coming out says, should I trade Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Courtland Sutton in the 102 for Justin Jefferson? I also have the 101 and the 107. I'm a rebuilding 1 quarterback format. Okay, so honestly, if we're looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Sutton in the 102, that 102 is going to be Drake London. I'd be fine with it. If it's going to be like a 12-team league where you start 11 or more players, there the depth is really going to matter, where it'd be difficult to sell a trade like that. But if it instead is potentially going to be just a regular, maybe like a 10-team league, start 10, or a 12-team league, start 9, yes, just give me Jefferson. Zach says, I hate Sutton, but I just got him at wide receiver 40 overall. Yeah, man. I cannot blame you for taking Courtland Sutton at the 8-10. Like I said, I think Sutton was in play where we took Jameson Williams. Okay, so Kareem Hunt off the board at the 906. Okay, so I'm liking yet again what's coming back to us. I'm liking what's coming back to us. I think we have interesting plays that I don't even want to say anything. I think we can find solid value across the board. Christian Kirk at the 908. Oh, I love, please, what I will advise for everybody in this draft right now, scroll down. Do not just look at the top of ADP. This is an underdog. If you're drafting on underdog, that ADP is so damn good because there's been so much money pumped into those drafts that really scrolling down ADP is not going to do you much. But no, this is crazy looking at this ADP. George Pickens goes to the 9-10. DeAndre, are we getting Kenny Pickett at the 9-10 turn in a super flex format? We are getting Kenny Pickett here? We're going to go Kenny Pickett and Miles Sanders. There are so many players I'm interested in. I don't even want to bring them all up because I think there's a chance that we get some of these guys at the turn. This sleeper ADP has everything so damn messed up. Oh, this is beautiful. I think we get some of these appealing options at the turn as well. Let's go through. Let me show off this draft board. We, so far at quarterback, have Josh Allen, Zach Wilson, and Kenny Pickett. Running back, Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley, Miles Sanders. Wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, and Jameson Williams. I think this is one of those teams where we have the flexibility. We can start the season in hell. If somehow, some way, Zach Wilson turns into a good NFL starting quarterback and we see that breakout from the Jets offense, then hell, if we get that combined with Saquon Barkley staying healthy, this is a contending team and we can push our chips in the middle. Maybe we go and trade Jameson Williams for a win now piece. Maybe we go trade Jameson Williams for Adam Thielen plus a future late pick. Now, also, if we are looking at this as a roster where what happens if Barkley goes down? What happens if Zach Wilson ends up being bad and we bust out on Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson? Well, then it's going to be real easy. We can make the pivot. We can move off of Devontae Adams, sell him for a couple future first, probably not a couple future firsts during the season, probably only going to get like a 2023 first and possibly a prospect as well, like a 2023 first. And then someone like, for example, Chris Olave would be interesting if, for whatever reason, this team were to go in the gutter. But I think we have the flexibility. We have nice value propositions overall on this entire roster. I like this team. Okay. So Zach says Pickett has been a 6th to 7th round quarterback all day. Yeah, I think that a lot of quarterbacks in this value, and of course I'm saying this and being very biased right now because we already have our 3 quarterbacks. We already have Josh Allen, Zach Wilson, and Kenny Pickett. So it does benefit me. I want to be honest. It benefits me to see quarterbacks going off the board. But if I am going to be honest at the same time, a lot of these quarterbacks that you just know they're going to be starting QBs this upcoming season, they're great values in this range. Like the opportunity cost that you're seeing at the running back position where there's still a couple running backs that are interesting. I think right now the value lies at quarterback, a couple of those receivers, and maybe a tight end or two. But yeah, that tight end in Dawson Knox is off the board. I thought Dawson Knox was appealing as well where we took Miles Sanders, but I'm not taking Dawson Knox over Sanders, even if we didn't have a tight end yet. Okay, so you have Isaiah Spiller, Damian Harris, Kadarius Toney off the board. Getting Kadarius Toney, an elite player on a per snap and a per route run basis this past season. Fantastic value of Kadarius Toney at the end of the 10th. There's no reason, there's no way in hell you should see, say, George Pickens, Christian Kirk, Hunter Renfrow, Jahan Dotson. I would prefer Toney over all those players. So you have Carson Wentz going at the beginning of the 11th, Mike Gesicki. So if we were looking at some of the tight ends that are going to be available to us that we could be excited about, I'm not excited about Noah Fant, don't care about Fant. Cole Kmet was one of those guys. If we were pulling up this tight end room, I think we are looking at Irv Smith Jr. I'm looking at Albert O. I'm looking at Trey McBride. I see Zach Ertz is up there in ADP. I'm honestly not that interested in Zach Ertz. And I'll be honest, like, this is not a real team. So who cares if I get sniped on these players? I just want to give you my overall thought process and the players that I would personally be interested in. So these are the tight ends that I'd like. I would like Claypool. Gallup was one of those guys. He goes off the board right here. After Claypool, there is a drop-off. I'd say probably Ridley as well. And then we're moving over to running back. The running back room, there are not that many interesting options. Claypool is off. Let's see what ends up happening, though. Let's see what happens. Maybe we end up taking a 4th quarterback. I'm going to treat this like a real league. So if we end up getting someone like Daniel Jones that I really like falling to us, maybe we just indeed end up going someone like Daniel Jones at the 11-12 turn, looking at the range of outcomes for what we could potentially get for that player through trade if they hit. I think Daniel Jones could be interesting. Okay, so David Bell going at the 11-08. Michael Carter Jr., Daniel Jones goes. So do we just go back-to-back tight end? I'm not going to go back-to-back tight end. I think we take Albert O, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to reach on Calvin Ridley at the same time. With Ridley, oh dear God, I don't want to say we missed because how am I supposed to know that Calvin Ridley is out there sports betting? How am I supposed to know that? Okay. But definitely a player that I went out of my way talking about Calvin Ridley being one of the best values this offseason, not only at the wide receiver position, but overall. I was adamant that you needed to be trading for Calvin Ridley, making video after video, explanation after explanation. And you have Calvin Ridley then getting suspended for the season. And a lot of people who heard me saying, you know what, go trade your early 2nd round pick for Calvin Ridley right now. Then all of a sudden they were like, oh, Mason, now we can get Calvin Ridley for we can get Calvin Ridley for a mid-second. Should we go trade our 203 for Calvin Ridley? It's like, you know what? Calvin Ridley's value is going to continue to go lower and lower and lower as you have no news about Calvin Ridley. Everybody else in that range, guys like George Pickens, you are going to get positive camp reports coming out about them. So inherently, you're just going to get Calvin Ridley continuing to fall down draft boards, and you are going to get him at a cheaper price point. So no, you shouldn't trade for Calvin Ridley the second that the suspension is announced. But what you should do is you should just remember Calvin Ridley once we are far away from that suspension and you are getting him in the 12th round, where you're getting Calvin Ridley in the same round that Devin Singletary, Alexander Madison, Tyrion Davis-Price, Ramondre Stevenson are off the board. And that's where we should go ahead and we should take Calvin Ridley. I like the pick, but let's see what ends up happening over the next few rounds. Okay, Boyd goes at the 1207. If we're looking at values on the board currently, John Mechie, Rondell Moore here is very appealing. Goff is great as well. Woods. Rojo would have been in play if it wasn't for the addition of Jerick McKinnon. Russell Gage is down here. Russell Gage has an ADP of 161. Now, of course, Russell Gage is not a player that should be worth more in Dynasty than he is in redraft. I have to put that out there. You prefer Russell Gage in redraft over Dynasty. But if I were to go through and look at where Russell Gage is going right now in Underdog Fantasy, just to give some context, where you're finding these deep hidden treasures. Like, you have Kenneth Gainwell on Sleeper right now, has an ADP lower than Jelani Woods, Chuba Hubbard, Keontae Ingram. Like, Kenneth Gainwell, fantastic. There are so many strong options. Jarvis Landry down here in ADP. Jimmy Garoppolo, pick 190. Robert Tonyan, 191. Gronk, 193. Tim Patrick, 197. Like, this ADP, like, is there a way this can get fixed? Is there something that can happen to make this a better ADP source? KJ Hamler, 227. Like, KJ Hamler, according to this ADP, is less valuable than Sony Michel. Is less valuable than freaking Calvin Austin. Funny that Robbie Anderson changed his name. Every time I see that, do have to laugh a little bit. John Mechie goes in the middle of the 13th, as well as Robert Woods. I mean, we are loaded up with receiver. I don't necessarily think that we have to panic at the wide receiver position anytime soon. But let's just see what makes it to us. There are a ton of interesting names. Rondell Moore goes to the 1307. I actually really like buying Rondell there. Really like it. Josh says, Robert Tonyan is droppable. What has he done with his opportunity in Green Bay? My man, you would have been speaking my language last year when people were drafting Robert Tonyan way too high, when they were taking him almost inside the top 10 rounds in Dynasty startups. I thought Robert Tonyan was a horrible selection then. But now his situation is dramatically better with no Devontae Adams leaving. And the man was a mid-tight end one in fantasy last year, 2 years ago, given the insane touchdown rate that he had, which of course he's not getting back to. But hell, his role is going to expand with no Devontae Adams. Okay. So here, I think we definitely go McBride. But do we also want Wan'Dale Robinson? Yeah, let's go McBride, Wan'Dale. Okay, Caden coming out says, what do you think of my team so far, man? First draft with you. No, thank you, Caden. There's no way in hell this is your first draft in this live stream. You're always out here, my man. But let's go through and let's check it out. So this is the 107 team with Jefferson in the first. Personally, I'm passing on Jalen Hurts here. I mean, with Jalen Hurts, if we're looking at a redraft perspective, yeah, I mean, I'm taking him every day of the week as a mid quarterback one, which is funny to say that I'm taking them there in redraft and passing on him in Dynasty in the middle of the second when he's going into his second year as a starting quarterback. Like, that should not necessarily be the case. We should have Jalen Hurts, in theory, valued higher in Dynasty than he is in redraft. But given the team investment, I would be somewhat concerned that if Jalen Hurts were to fail this upcoming season, not saying it's going to happen, but it's in the range of outcomes. It is in the range of outcomes. If Jalen Hurts were to fail this upcoming season and the Philadelphia Eagles could find an answer elsewhere, I think that is in the range of outcomes, like we said, even if it's a tail end risk. So if we had the potential to, say, grab a Mark Andrews, I am personally going to be going through and grabbing Andrews in the second. Stephon Diggs in the third. I think I'm personally going to be taking Debo, but I'm not going to really argue with that. Alvin Kamara in the fourth. Completely fine with it if you want to go and grab a win now piece after you take Stephon Diggs. Judy in the fifth. Love the Judy value. A.J. Dillon in the sixth. Great value. Mac Jones, great pick. James Cook, the 807. I personally think that I would have ended up going with the receiver in this range, but it is what it is. Same thing with Kareem Hunt. It's just personal preference. I think the wide receivers are going to be the value here. Chase Edmonds in the 10th. I also probably wouldn't have gone with the running back. Like, if you could have had Davis Mills instead, I think possibly quarterback's a little more appealing. Love the Irv Smith Jr. pick. Like the Tyler Boyd pick. I would have preferred Rondale Moore over John Mechie, but not that big of a deal. And David Njoku here in the 14th. So I think overall, like, there are no picks that really stand out that I go, okay, yeah, no, this is very bad. But I think there are a couple selections that I'm looking at saying I probably just prefer wide receiver in this range. I think maybe the running backs were pushed up in this draft a little bit. We did end up taking 3 of them with Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley, and Miles Sanders. But I was comfortable with the 212, the 401, and the 1001 with those guys. Now you have freaking Melvin Gordon somehow, some way making it to the 1408. Now, of course, I am expecting Melvin Gordon to be the starting running back. I'm sorry, Javonte Williams to be the starting running back this upcoming season. But if we look back at last year, Melvin Gordon averaged more carries per game and more yards per carry than Javonte Williams. Not saying that's going to happen again. I mean, I would have taken Javonte Williams if he made it to us at the 212. Like, I think it's Javonte Williams going forward. But this is clearly still a committee backfield for this upcoming season. And you're not that excited about Melvin Gordon if Javonte Williams stays healthy, because he'll probably be seeing, 40% of the touches out of this backfield. But A, you have that running back 3 that you can plug in a flex spot if you need to during the bye weeks. And B, at the same time with Melvin Gordon, what's most exciting is if something were to occur to Javonte Williams, hell, all of a sudden, Melvin Gordon is a top 10 running back in fantasy. Okay. Seth says, is this Dynasty or best ball? This is Dynasty, my man. And real quick, if you are just now getting the live stream, please make sure you go down there, drop a like on the stream. Let's get this live stream over 100 likes. And Chuba Hubbard goes the 1505. I hate the Chuba Hubbard selection. I will be the first person to say that. Like, I was just praising this team for getting Melvin Gordon, but with Chuba Hubbard here, this is a running back that now is no longer the backup to Christian McCaffrey. How do I get where did this go? Okay, there. You have Donta Foreman as the backup to Christian McCaffrey. I think Chuba Hubbard is honestly a player I would not even consider here. I mean, give me Kenneth Gainwell, give me Marquez Valdez-Scantling as a great value. I wouldn't have taken Hubbard for a couple of rounds. Okay, let's go through. Let's find our last selection. Like Jimmy Garoppolo, like what? Tim Patrick, Joshua Palmer. Just saying every name here that I think stands out. I think those are probably the big 3 at this point. Let's queue them up just so people know where my head's at in case you're in this round. Okay, like I said, I think we can go through, look at Jimmy G, even Robert Tonyan, Tim Patrick. Let's go ahead. I'm taking Jimmy Garoppolo. We're taking Jimmy Garoppolo here at the end of the 15th. Let me show off this draft board. Please let me know what your thoughts of this were down there in the comment section. I think that should be it. And I appreciate y'all. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great weekend, actually. It is Saturday. And yeah, that's it. I will see you with the video tomorrow. And I appreciate you.